What it is, what it looked like. Welcome back. I'm always ready, and just wanted to give my thoughts concerning the upcoming title Monster Hunter Wilds by Capcom here. Now I'm getting this set up, showing you the settings here to make this run. I should use that term loosely, but you're on performance mode on 1440p. Using DLSS. We're gonna leave frame gen off so we can see how this game actually performs, right? I think we're gonna turn the bloom down a bit. I am using a reshade to clean the image up a bit, turn off motion blur, turn the fog down to low. It's still gonna be there. But reshade lowers the FPS. I think the way I have it set up a little bit by like maybe 3 to 5 FPS, something like that. Actually, it might be lower. Anyway, so you can see at the top the 4060 Ti, 16 gig, 12700K in this system, and the GPU can reach like 160 watts max. I think it's 163, something like that. You're going to see throughout, though the game is CPU intensive, this CPU is never going to really use more than about 36% or so of itself. Sitting at 5 gigahertz, I mean, it's just kind of cruising. Everything is like in the 60s for the temp. So I'm just giving you all the stats up front here. And as we start moving around, the FPS is going to be in the 60s. I would go ahead and ignore the 1% lows. In fact, I'm probably going to just take that off. And the reason is because I don't know how to reset it. I'm in a windowed borderless. And so when I'm moving around on the other screen, it messes with the 1% lows. Though it could be accurate in this game, seeing the way that it runs, because I'm already down like in the 40s, like mid 50s. And it really is all dependent on where like I forgot. I was trying to figure out how to like attack and just like hit the thing. But this is my first Monster Hunter, by the way. So the gameplay you're going to see is literally from a noob of the entire franchise. I do have Monster Hunter World, but I've never played it. I have like the Iceborne, all that. It's just kind of chilling in the backlog. So but this one, I don't know, like the color scheme, the art style, all of that. I was like, now's probably a good time as any to hop into Monster Hunter. So anywho, but depending on like where you look on the screen at any given point, that FPS is going to like wildly shift. So you can see why they are wanting you to enable frame gen from the jump. And if you don't, they give you a nice little pop-up before you continue that's like, hey, you can turn frame gen on later in the settings, right? And that's just, it's so weird. From my experience, it's the first game that's ever done that. Like, it's begging you to turn on frame gen. So in all respects, what this is telling me is like they were content at some point of this being another 30 FPS experience in the Monster Hunter world, or franchise, I should say. And I don't know, man. It feels like the way it's implemented, like at the last minute, they went ahead and were like, let's toss frame gen in there. But the game's heavy, and I'm not sure what's really causing that. I don't know if it's like the actual polygons themselves. I don't know if it's like the textures doing that's slowing it down. I'm just really curious. I mean, at one point this game will be trying to allocate like 10 of the 16 gigs, and it'll push like maybe 8. So most cards, according to that anyway, at high settings should be able to run it. There was a funny video I saw where someone had ended up playing the game, but all of the polygons were like extremely low and everything looked like, I don't know, man, it might have been like some PS1 in between PS2 kind of stuff. But the FPS skyrocketed after that. Now, and I'm sure this could be a little better for my experience, right? Like if I play this, I'm on a 32-inch monitor, so I'm playing at 1440p already. So that's why I'm using DLSS, because I don't want to actually make the game 1080p. But I mean, if that helps the game run better, then so be it. But like we got just a couple of days before this thing launches, and I'm not so sure where all of the performance is going to come from, as far as like how they're going to clean up the performance, because I don't know what's causing it to come down like that. Quite honestly, for as many characters, NPCs, or whatever is on the screen, that alone really isn't the issue as far as being CPU intensive. I mean, I'm playing Spider-Man, and I have a bunch of people on the street, and it's for all purposes running just fine. So something else going on with this engine that Capcom has going on, like when they expanded out, right? Like the RE engine was something made for Resident Evil in particular. So hallways, small sections, a lot of detail. Remember when that came out, they were going on and on about like how like the hair detail on all of the models was like really high. Once it was enabled, like your performance would drop significantly. But that's what's happening in this game, right? Like all of the characters, the ones that you can make can be stunning, but all of the characters have a lot of detail: hair, feathers, cloth. So I mean, they're going all in with that aspect of it. And then like this monster right here, what is this, the Chupacabra? I mean, look at all of like the scales and like the skin, and then there's like the sliminess of the tongue, and like it kind of looks like it's like dewy or wet when you look at the back. It's like a big ass monster frog. But all of that is happening at the same time on the screen, and then you've got like the dust, and you've got these these physics type of effects going on, where like the rocks are crumbling and they'll like fall down, and some of these attacks are doing dust ups and everything. So what happens is, as you're playing, like you can see with me doing this longsword run here, I'm having difficulty staying one, on track with the creature, but two, some of my inputs don't feel as clean as they should. And as you can see here, it comes down to like when I change my camera angle. So I'm swinging at this here, and I'm like around 50 FPS, and all of a sudden I turn around, and then that angle, it drops back into the 40s. And so that does play with like not only just like the visuals, but it plays with the timing of your input. And so I think that's why they're trying to enable FrameGen to make it look smoother. But again, as it's been noted so often, FrameGen does not in any way improve the input latency or the lag that you've got going on. And a lot of, like, you can see that graph there, like massive frame pacing issues. And so, it's like, what are we left to do at that point? Because yeah, you can turn on FrameGen, and honestly, most people will for their setups, but you shouldn't have to. It definitely is something that you want to get extra out of, not something that actually is just going to just make it feel better. Now, I haven't been on console in a long time, so console bros can let me know, like, is 30 FPS still normative? Because if it is, in this type of environment, well, then you're not really missing anything. But on PC, especially if I'm using mouse, controller not so much. Like the controller input will mask what's going on somewhat, But using mouse and keyboard, man, it's interesting. And I really want to love the experience. So I'm hoping that they do clean this up. As you can see down there, this is like the second beta, but it's using an early build. Now, some people were saying, "Oh man, that hurt." See, look, missing the creature and everything. Talk about awful. But yeah, coming to a guild near you. But yeah, like they said using an earlier build. How much earlier? Maybe something from last year or something like that. So when I ran the benchmark was interesting because it felt like I was able to run that game well. But if you lean further into the benchmark, it's telling you that you're going to have issues once you actually drop into like the field. Like once you get that whole cinematic where the clouds are dissipating and now you hop down and you're in the plains with all the creatures and everything else like that going on. So before that, I was sitting in like with all the cutscenes and stuff like in the 80s. As soon as I hit into the plains, it dropped to like 40 something. And I was like, whoa, that's heavy. So for that brief moment of the benchmark, it let people know exactly how the game was running. But it is disingenuous that they obfuscated that so much with cutscenes. The game looks gorgeous. I'll give them that. But there was nothing to play. And that was intentional. And they could have given something else, right? Like they left it to where some content creators came out and hung out with them and played what essentially is like next to near the final build. And then they disseminated that information through them, but it really should have been something that took place in this second beta, because they're still asking for your money. And honestly, I'm always inclined to wait anyway, instead of hitting the, money up front. But we finally took this thing down. Frogger is dead. But yeah, those are just my thoughts for it. I really want this game to succeed, but honestly, I don't want it to, in the sense that it's not polished. So tired of games not being polished when they come out. Just getting by, patching it after the fact. Publishers and developers relationships are funny enough, even more so when they're in-house. But let me know what your thoughts are. If you're picking this game up day one, or if you're going to wait and see how it performs for everyone else. But modern cards, it doesn't matter. You have 5090, go up there. If you turn on everything to play it the way that you want, you're going to have issues. And then as you can see here in this beta, like there's a bunch of like texture issues going on loading in. Like I shouldn't have any problem loading any of that in, but again, I can just go off of what they gave. And if this was it on day one, then I'm definitely just going to wait and see exactly how it is and if they fixed all that. Or maybe I'll just go back and play World, because it's right there for me to just download. But all right, get out here. Until next time, as always, be the meta.